Welcome, everyone, to our first live ChaloGive stream, a 2-hour program about ChaloGive and what we are doing to fight hunger. This first hour, we're going to have some exciting leaders, and we're going to hear about what they're doing to fight hunger in our community, both in the US and in India. In the first hour, we'll have Sreenivasan of PBS interviewing Claire Babineaux-Fontenot, CEO of Feeding America, which is our partner in the US, Naren Chaudhary, CEO of Panera Bread, Anshu Gupta, founder and director of GOONJ, Rohini Nilekani, a philanthropist and signatory of the Giving Pledge, and Ricky Kej, a Grammy award-winning musical composer and environmentalist. We are so excited to have all of these people join. And in the second hour, we will also have Nina Davuluri, a speaker, advocate, and Miss America 2014, Atul Satija, CEO of GiveIndia, our partner in India and the largest donation platform in India, Gita and Oliver Bangera, Seattle restaurant owners who are doing so much to help people on the front lines right now, delivering meals, Aradhana Asava, co-founder of movement to end hunger called HungerMitao, Sangeetha Lakshminarayanan, president and founder of Aram, a grassroots organization, Durgaprasad S., co-founder and group CEO of Bahwan CyberTek Group, also an Indiaspora Founder Circle member. Thank you for all of our speakers, and thank you for all of us who are joining us right now online. It looks like a fabulous lineup, and thank you for the people who are weighing in online right now. Raj Asava, we really appreciate the support. Pradna Haldipur, thank you so much. This actually is a great segue. Pradna is a CEO of Magic Bus, and this is a great segue into ChaloGive and why we are here today. So ChaloGive is our initiative to fight COVID relief. It is our second initiative. The first one that we had was really given in the spirit of Gandhi Jayanti and giving back to the community. And it was a collection of more than 20 organizations who are doing fantastic work. Magic Bus was one, in poverty alleviation and education and healthcare in India. So we're really excited about everything that's going on. We're really excited about the program that we have. And I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Indiaspora. I'm Mansi Patel. I do communications at Indiaspora. And, Indiaspora is an amazing organization. It is a 501c3 nonprofit. It's a group of prominent Indian diaspora leaders who are committed to making social change, both in their communities here in the US and in India. And, it's been a journey. We've been around since 2012. It was founded by our Indiaspora founder, M.R. Rangaswamy, who's out in the Bay Area. And, he had a very successful career in tech. And, he created Indiaspora as a way to give back to the community. So, we'll be hearing from him in a few minutes. Just want to thank everyone who's joining online right now. Really appreciate Atul Satija, who's also just mentioned he's looking forward to this conversation. Really appreciate all of the support online right now. Okay, great. And before I turn it over to MR, I just also wanted to encourage everyone to follow us on our Indiaspora Facebook page, our Twitter page, our Instagram. All of them are at Indiaspora Forum. Thank you so much for everyone who's joined. And I want to introduce you now to MR Rangaswamy.
Hey, everyone. Thank you, Mansi. You and the team have done an incredible job pulling this off. I call it working 25 by 8. So thank you so much for putting the show on with such an amazing lineup. First thing I got to say is the community, the Indian American community across the US has rallied in this crisis. This is an amazing, generous outpouring of support we've never seen before. The Sikhs in New York City, they've made 30,000 meals for people in need. Little children all over the country, Indian American children, have made masks for healthcare workers. There has been also the Seva organization in Houston, for example, is doing a plasma donor matching program. So across the country, we're seeing such an outpouring of support from every part of the Indian American community. As you know, we are 1% of the United States population, but we are 7% of the doctors. Amazing statistic. And these are the people, the men and women, the nurses, they're out in the front lines of COVID today as we speak, putting themselves in harm's way. And you know why? 10% of COVID cases in the US are healthcare professionals. So I want to give a huge shout out to the doctors, nurses, and other healthcare professionals across the United States. What a magnificent job that our community is doing everywhere. We also have at Indiaspora, we incubated a group called the India Philanthropy Alliance. It's not IPA like the beer, guys. It's India Philanthropy Alliance. And this is an amazing group, and I'm going to take a minute. It's 12 different organizations who are part of this group. And they are Akansha Education Fund, American Indian Foundation, Arogya World, Cry America, ACL USA, Foundation for Excellence, Indiaspora itself, Magic Bus USA, Pratham USA, Project Echo, Vision Spring, and the Wish Foundation. The teams in these organizations have worked tirelessly over the past 6 weeks to get their operations in India going and helping the needy. So again, another great set of contributions coming from our NGOs that are based here in the US and collecting money for relief. So shout out to them as well. And Indiaspora is going to, later this month, put out a report on all the work the entire community is doing and has been doing. So again, this is a moment for our community to be seen, our community to be proud, and our community to be giving. And that's exactly what is going on at this moment. Now, let me come to this program itself. What is ChaloGive? ChaloGive is an initiative we started a year ago around Gandhi Jayanti to do a week of giving, modeled after and inspired by Giving Tuesday or Dan Utsav for those of you in India. It's a similar model where we get a group of NGOs to work with us, and then we try to get support. So ChaloGive website, again, it's key for you to know this, is chalogive.org. And you can see it live now. We're at $1,027,618 to be specific. I don't see any pennies there yet. So that's the amount we have. We're not just proud of the amount of money we've raised, over $1 million in just 10 days, which shows how generous our community is. It's the number of meals we've enabled. There have been 6 million meals that have been given out to people because of the $1 million. This is both in the US and in India. And how did this come about? Our members came to us as soon as the COVID pandemic started and said, Indiaspora has to do something for the community. Indiaspora has to do something that's impactful, something that's scalable, and something that can work in the US and in India. If you recall, ladies and gentlemen, at that time, we lost one of our own in our community in the US. The master chef Floyd Cardoz unfortunately passed away because of COVID. His passing away and his legacy has inspired us to focus on the fight for hunger. Because as you know, Floyd, he was a humanitarian as well. He would have gone and cooked for people at this trying time, even though his restaurant would have been shut down. And that's what spurred us to really fight for hunger as the theme of this campaign. And so we then were able to pick 2 organizations because it had to work in the US. And we selected Feeding America, which is an outstanding organization. You'll hear from their CEO a little later today in this broadcast. But Feeding America is a network of 200 food banks, and they really connect people across the country. So even before this crisis erupted, they were serving 30 million Americans last year. And now, to add to that, they have 30 million unemployed Americans joining this group of people. So Feeding America is a fabulous group we selected. We have several Indian Americans who are very closely associated with them. Indra Nui, the former PepsiCo chairman, is on their Food Security Council. And Dr. Vivek Murthy, who was the former Surgeon General, is on their board. So we have great Indian Americans within the organization as well. And that made us support them even more. In India, the organization we're supporting is called GOONJ, and you'll hear from Anshu, their CEO, who's a Magsaysay Award winner. GOONJ has been around 20 years, getting clothing, used clothing from the large cities to rural communities around India. And so when the crisis started, they repurposed their entire supply chain infrastructure to be able to deliver a ration kit. The ration kit has either rice or flour, oil, masala, and personal hygiene products that can last a family of 4 migrants 7 to 10 days. And that's the organization we have in India. And they're equipped to get 1 million of these kits out if we can just support them. So again, in the US, we have Feeding America, like I said, with 60, literally 60 million people to take care of in their time of need here in the US. And we have GOONJ ready to supply migrant workers and their families 1 million meal kits. So those are the 2 organizations that can be impactful, that can scale with the amount of money we can give them. And that is our hope today, is to get another 100 or another 1 million meals raised. And that's the next part of our campaign now. We raised 1 million in 10 days, and now we want to raise money for another 1 million meals. So that's the challenge at hand, everyone. So I really believe that together as a community, both Indian Americans and Americans in general can really be generous today in taking care of all these problems. And now we have a special guest with us, Hari Sreenivasan. Hari is the weekend anchor for PBS NewsHour, a very familiar face to all of us. And I'd love for Hari to join me at this point in time. And
hey, how are you, Amar?
Hey, Hari, how are you, man?
Good. Surviving, like all of us.
I've been waiting for this moment to interview an interviewer who has interviewed hundreds of guests across the country, good, bad, notorious, popular. I mean, and I have a hard question for you, my friend. Can I ask?
Sure.
Okay. You got a beautiful shirt and a jacket. Are you wearing boxer shorts, pajama, dhoti, lungi? What are you wearing?
We'll just say no comment at this point. But let's just say people all around the country and probably the world that are in my profession have become. I can almost guarantee that they're doing it in their socks or their chappals, but pants are optional at this point.
Yeah, great, good to know. And you know what? When all this is behind us, I want to come to your apartment. I love that $1 million view there, my friend.
Yeah, awesome. Exactly. It's about $200 at Staples. It's a piece of cardboard. But hey.
And you know what? ChaloGive Live looks like a professional broadcast network, doesn't it? Because we all use the same technology sitting at home.
Yeah, I think that people, for a while, they've been accustomed to seeing, for example, Skype from places far away. And all of a sudden, now video over IP has become normalized because it's literally how our children are getting classroom learning. It's how business is being conducted because we have no choice. And so what you see is that people don't sweat the detail of, oh, did you see the resolution was a little pixelated? They're thinking about the substance of the conversation. Hey, look at what that person said, or listen to what they were saying. And so hopefully this means that people will pay more attention to the content of things and less on the packaging.
Great. And thank you so much, Hari. I got to commend again journalists like you who are presenting factual information to all of us, keeping us posted, keeping us informed. And now I have to say this, on with the show.
Okay, thank you. I want to introduce our first guest right off the top here. She is the CEO of Feeding America. You've probably heard of Feeding America, especially in the context of COVID, but I'd like to have her join me in this conversation. Claire Babineaux-Fontenot, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Oh, it's my privilege to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Just for our perhaps overseas audience who doesn't know what Feeding America is or does, I know MR introduced it briefly, but what's the sort of thumbnail sketch of the work that you've been doing?
Yes, so Feeding America is a network of 200 food banks around the United States. I often say that we serve every county and parish where hunger lives, and being as that's every county and parish in the whole U.S., we are everywhere. We cover the whole U.S. We have 60,000 in normal times, over 60,000 agency partners that we work with, pantries from large to small pantries. And we ordinarily have a network of 2 million volunteers around the US. So a vast network designed to go everywhere where we're needed and to serve in every way that we can. Before COVID, we were serving about 37, according to the USDA, there were 37 million people in the country facing food insecurity, and we were serving about 40 or so million people a year at that time.
Wow. So post-COVID, how has that number changed? I know we haven't had a full year, but from what you worse, what are you seeing?
Absolutely. So I'm confident that these numbers are unfortunately conservative, and that the numbers will be closer to what Aram just talked about. But as of now, we have inside of our organization, we have research analysts who have been conducting surveys to understand what's happening around the US. And we have reason to believe that there will be at least 17, probably more, million additional people facing food insecurity in the country. We're seeing increases in some communities of over 200% in terms of people who are coming out in need of food. 40% of those on average have never, ever reached out to us before. So we're seeing a significant increase in need. At the same time, for various reasons, we're seeing a decrease in food donations. And on top of that, as you might imagine, we're seeing a decrease in available volunteers. So it's the perfect storm of challenges. I have a lot of confidence in our network and their ability to rise to that challenge, but it has definitely been difficult.
Give me an idea of who, if there is such an average person that is coming now to one of all of the different partners you work with, who's coming to a food pantry? Because I think sometimes we have a tendency to stereotype who is poor or who is hungry, but the kinds of numbers you're talking about, that's not any small group.
It's really not. And it's always been true that people didn't understand the face of hunger in the United States. So many people, because we have the good fortune of being one of the wealthiest countries in history, in fact, it's hard for people to reconcile that such a wealthy country would have people who do not have consistent access to nutritious food, but that's been true for a very long time here. So most often you're talking about these categories of people in need. A working mom with kids, someone who's elderly, the children themselves, people who struggle with physical disabilities. That's the typical array of people who have generally come to us for help. What we're seeing now are recently unemployed people. So when you look at all of the data that's out there about those unemployment numbers, and when you think about how so many of the people who are being let go from their jobs are in jobs that rely heavily on the service industry. So people who, as for an example, if you work in a restaurant, you don't just work in that restaurant for your base pay, you rely upon tips. If there are no people there, then you can't get the tips. It doesn't take very long for you to go from being gainfully employed and able to support yourself and your family to finding yourself in a bad situation really quick. So that's what we're seeing a lot of.
One of the things that you mentioned is the volunteerism. I mean, it's remarkable the number of people who have been working with you, but at this point, as they're struggling with their own lives, their own finances, and frankly, to take care of their own children, their own families through this crisis, you're saying that that's actually decreased. So, short of being able to go out and volunteer at one of the pantries that Feeding America works with, what are a couple of things personally that we can do? Is sort of money the fastest lubricant here? And also, what are some things that we can push our representatives to do?
Yeah, so we like to couch it in 3 terms. So funds, food, and friends. So in the funds department, that you're doing that right now, and we so deeply appreciate the investments that you're making in our work, the financial investments that you're making in our work. We encourage those who can see me and hear the sound of my voice, to the extent that you're able, to find a way to give what you can, and we appreciate every single bit of it. In addition to that, there has been a challenge around getting food. So if you go to the website, the Feeding America website, feedingamerica.org, we actually have a locator on there where you can find the food bank that's closest to you. And there you can go into their website and find out, do they need food? Do they need volunteers? And I'd like to make one other quick point, if you don't mind, Hadi, on the point of the volunteers. Not only are we struggling because of all of the other things that you might imagine, but one thing that your audience may not be aware of is the significant majority of our volunteers are actually elderly. So at this moment in time, we can't ask them to put themselves at significant risk in order to do this work. So that has caused some serious challenges around volunteerism for us as well.
All right, Claire Babineaux-Fontenot, CEO of Feeding America. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, and keep up the great work.
Well, thank you for everything that you're doing, not just in the United States, but also in India. I've often remarked that people who care about people, and you clearly do. Thanks, you're helping a lot. We sincerely appreciate you.
All right, we're coming up on the end of this conversation. And now we're having a conversation with Naren Chaudhary, who's the CEO of Panera Bread. I want to have him join us now. Naren, for people, again, watching overseas who have not had the pleasure of having one of your paninis in their stores, tell us a brief sketch. What is Panera, the scale of Panera, where it reaches, how many places that you have?
Sure. So Panera Bread, can you hear me? So Panera Bread is has 2,200 cafes across the country. Average unit volumes of close to $3 million per cafe. We employ about 140,000 people. Total system sales of $6 billion. But I think what's unique about Panera is that our mission is quite simple. We want to make sure that good food is accessible to everybody. And by good food, we mean food that tastes great, but is also good for you. So we have some core values that define our food. So it's food that's free from all kinds of artificial ingredients. The animal proteins are from animals raised in a responsible way. And most importantly, at Panera, we believe that we will serve food that we will serve to our own children. So we have a pretty high filter in terms of serving food that's both good and good for you. So it's in the form of sandwiches and salads and soups in terms of what we offer. But I think it's an incredible brand.
One of the things that Claire mentioned that was interesting is the number of children that are being affected by this. How is your company trying to just deal with that? I mean, there are, I'm sure, tons of your customers that used to show up at your store, and whether it was kind of the last minute dinner that they wanted to grab, this was feeding their kids. And a lot of kids, especially from impoverished neighborhoods, are used to going to school to get that staple meal, that diet. So what's Panera working on?
You know, I already think that this health crisis is becoming a significant humanitarian crisis. And I think at times like this, brands like ours must step up and do the right thing the right way. So I think especially at a time like this, and especially with people who are impacted the most by the pandemic, and I think there are three sets of people who are impacted. Doctors and nurses, and they're out there every single day fighting for all of us. So we serve about 50,000 meals to doctors and nurses every week in New York. Second is children, like you mentioned. Children don't have access to freshly prepared, wholesome meals at a time like this. So we recently announced a partnership with the USDA and the Children Hunger Alliance to serve nutritious, wholesome, freshly prepared meals to children in the state of Ohio and then beyond. And then the third category is families. Families, like Claire was saying, are deeply impacted. In fact, as she mentioned, it's a staggering stat that 55 million Americans are going to suffer from hunger. I think I've read that 20% of the food banks are going to run out of food. And that's just unacceptable. So to that end, we are actually partnering with Feeding America. And we've launched a campaign called Together Without Hunger, saying that let's come together and fight and attack hunger. So we have pledged that we will serve up to 500,000 meals to children and families impacted by the pandemic. And to drive awareness and to drive donation, we've created a challenge. You have it on the screen. It's called See a Plate, Fill a Plate. So you go firstly and donate at least $3 to togetherwithouthunger.org. Then you take an empty plate, decorate that, and symbolically fill that with hope and optimism. Take a selfie, tag 5 friends, and post it. And I think through that, we're hoping to create this momentum. And the more we'll raise, the more children and families we can feed at this difficult time.
Unmute. Okay, there we go. I know you've been in the industry for a long time, 25 years at least, and we have not had a crisis like this. But one of the things people are wondering is what happens to the food service industry, the restaurant industry. You're an enormous company with hundreds of thousands of employees, but what about the mom and pop that's got a small diner somewhere on Main Street, so to speak? They probably don't have a couple of months worth of pad where they can go without customers, and they're still running the risk of their employees. What happens in the big picture?
I think as you look ahead, the world as we know it is going to change dramatically, at least for the near term. And I do think that the recovery is going to be somewhat slow. So I think firstly, the financial crisis is going to deepen, and that's going to impact, unfortunately, many businesses. However, even in that environment, there will be opportunities for restaurant companies, opportunities such as on real estate, opportunities on talent. Competition undoubtedly will consolidate. I think brands that are truly differentiated, I believe, will still find a way to survive, but it's going to be hard. But there'll be new entrants, new competition. So for example, at-home consumption is going to be increasingly important. Therefore, even for a brand like ours, I think grocery players, meal kit providers will become competitors for the share of wallet for customers for at-home consumption. So the whole dynamics are going to change at a macro level, at a category level, a competitive level. But most importantly, I think the consumers are going to change. And this is what I think the consumers are going to look for. First and foremost, the consumers are going to look for safety. I think they want to be assured that they can still be safe. So that's most important. I think second, they will also look for off-premise convenience. So curbside pickup, drive-thrus, delivery, and that type of stuff is going to be even more important. I think because of the onset of recession, potentially, value is going to be very, very important for the next several months. And lastly, and most importantly, I think customers are also going to start caring about not only the food in terms of taste, but also the quality of the food that they put in their bodies. So I think wellness will become also a big concern. Yeah. And I think, fortunately, a brand like Panera, I think, is well positioned if we do the right things, because we have a brand that stands for wellness, but also we have a very good off-premise infrastructure and a strong e-commerce platform.
All right, Naren Chaudhary, CEO of Panera Bread. Hopefully when this is all over, I can catch up with you in person in one of your cafes. Thanks so much for joining us, and thanks for all the work.
Look forward.
Hi, everybody. My name is Abra Annis, even though my screen says my name. There it is. I am so excited to be here with you this evening. I am a good friend of the American of the Indian American community. I have been working with the Indian American community for a long time, deeply with some of the philanthropic partners that you heard about at the beginning. It is my honor, and you can tell I'm excited, to ask you to donate to ChaloGive. You can see our website down on the bottom, right down here, chalogive.org. You've heard about Feeding America, which is one of our wonderful partners tonight. And you also heard about GOONJ, our second partner, our partner in India, if you joined us earlier. If you're just joining us now, that is great. Right here is our total $1,027,618. You've heard about the amazing work that Feeding America is doing currently and about the looming hunger crisis that is happening right now and coming. In India, it is also happening right now. If you follow the news coming out of India, you may have seen videos or photos of lines and lines of migrant workers heading back home. Millions of people have been displaced and without work as migrant workers. They're headed back home. They cannot feed their families. And we are asking for your support. $1 is one meal. Head over right now to ChaloGive. Right now, there are three options. You can, if you feel so inclined, you can give to Feeding America, which focuses on America. If you feel connected to India, you can donate to GOONJ, or you could do my personal favorite. You could donate to both. We have our first donation, and I have a little popper, a confetti popper. We have Rhonda Binda. I'm going to see if I can get this thing always scares me. I'm going to pop the confetti because we are so, if I was strong enough, we'll see. Whoa! There it goes, except it went the wrong way. If you donate right now, I have a ton of these in my office. I will pop a confetti popper for you. Any donation, the size doesn't matter. What we are hoping for today is that you make a gift, whether it's $5 or $5,000, anywhere in between. You can do that right now. Go to chalogive.org. You can click the button. It is super easy, and the decision is yours. If you feel compelled to Feeding America or to GOONJ, or my personal favorite, I would donate to both. And with that, I will be back. You're going to see me in a couple parts this evening. I'll be back 4 times. You can give anytime, and we will see you back in a little bit.
All right, Abra's background is putting mine to shame. Anshu Gupta is joining me now. Anshu, you've got the plain white wall. I've got slightly better than a plain white wall. Thanks so much for joining us. Kind of similar question, because we have kind of an American and an Indian audience. For the folks in the United States who don't know what your organization is and what it does, a small thumbnail sketch if you can.
Most important, thank you, MR, Sanjeev, and all at Indiaspora to take it up. And this is a complicated moment for all the people in the world, and particularly in India. We know that everyone is appreciating the informal economy of India, but informal economy means a large number of people who survive on daily wages or on the farming. And that is what we have seen in the last few weeks, that how millions of people started walking back to their native villages because there is issue in the jobs in the city. And my whole worry is that when you go back to the villages, do you have enough employment opportunities? Because ultimately people in India migrated from the villages to get some jobs. So there is a scenario where you do not have a job in the city, you do not have a job in the village. So you are somewhere stuck. And when I talk about India, it's all about millions and millions of people. And the whole focus so far has been on the migrants who are stuck in the cities. And unfortunately, India has always, like many other countries, actually has ignored its villages where we have more than 70% of our population, which is, I believe, is going to increase with this particular crisis. So we are in the middle of something where you have more people and less resources. If you talk about village India, so that's what we are focusing more. Not that we are not working in the cities, we are, but our larger focus is the village India right now, and that is where most distress news will start coming in for sure, which is already there.
What are the crises that you see today, and what are the ones that you're likely to see in the next few weeks and months?
So, to be honest, for sure, as of now, the displacement became one of the bigger issue in India. Much more than the threat of the virus, it was the displacement and the reverse migration which started happening, and that's what the entire world saw. We all saw that how people, to be honest, I'm also talking on a larger thing that it's also the trust deficit, which I think people like us have created in the last few decades, where we didn't understand maybe the right way of living. I mean, if these millions of people do not trust any of the setup, any of the employer, government, neighborhood, and they just start walking, hundreds of kilometers, there is something which we have done wrong. I mean, if we see the fundamental thing, because this after this virus, when the world opens up, we have to be really, really, thinking a lot about how we are dealing with it. And so, as of now, hunger and starvation certainly is a bigger thing. And I can see three things happening, especially for these migrant communities stuck in the cities or jobless in the cities or already gone to the villages. First part is the hunger and starvation, and largely hunger to start with as of now, because it's still in control to some extent. It is followed by, in India, unfortunately, a very vicious debt cycle, because there are local people who give a loan on very high interest rate. This is again a part of the informal part, where people even get 100 rupees at an interest of 10-15 rupees a month. So you can imagine, and then they are not even able to pay the interest. So never ever they will be able to pay principal. So if you get into that trap, you're gone forever. And the third thing which can happen if we really do not scale up our work, is again very distressed migration back to the cities, where the cities are not there, which can offer you a lot of jobs right now. But because if we don't take care of the hunger part right now, it will become a compulsion for people to really, really come back. So it will be another lot of forced migration back in the cities. So that's why this particular time is extremely important, that how do we really take care of hunger of people.
Well, one of the things that really quickly, what's the infrastructure, right? I mean, earlier we heard from Feeding America that there's 60,000 pantries that they're working with every year, that there's millions of volunteers. What do you do in a country like India, especially in the rural portions of the country? What happens when people go hungry? I mean, there's already people in the city that have been hungry. It's not that COVID is the introductory sort of moment where people have been hungry in India, but what kind of infrastructure exists that you can actually piggyback onto?
So one of the biggest, very robust system is also the voluntary organizations all across. So today, if I talk about GOONJ itself, GOONJ has a network of a few hundred local grassroots partner organizations. Plus, we can always actually purchase a lot from the farmers, so that their income is remains same, or at least it is intact. And also the village economy really starts happening. Then we also have government PDS, public distribution system and all. But I think I am really relying a lot on the network of the voluntary organizations across the country, which has a direct connect with the people. So in the last few days of our work, we have done almost about 600,000 kgs of dry ration and other things to the remotest parts of about 20 states of India now. And this is with about 150 partner organizations, because that's the grid which we have been able to create. And also one important part where we are working as GOONJ and is that how do we procure more and more from the village itself? And that can happen because we are a country which is known for agriculture, fine. And right now, the major crisis is actually food. I mean, anyone who has food is inside home, and the person who doesn't have food is outside the home. It's very simple. I mean, the world is divided in two parts that way. Someone who has food, someone who does not have food. That way.
That's a sobering thought. Anshu Gupta, founder and director of GOONJ. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Yeah, pleasure.
Rohini Nilekani is joining us now. She's a philanthropist that's well known in India. You've got your fingers in lots of different types of bowls, so to speak, whether it's trying to build community or markets or sustainable government. Thanks for joining us tonight. I want to ask you, because you see this from so many different grantees that you're funding, just give us an idea of the scale of the problem that India is facing right now.
Thank you, and namaste, Hari, and namaste, all viewers. Yeah, I mean, this is really unprecedented, right? Because nobody expected everything to unravel quite this quickly. The scale, I mean, we did some surveys recently together with Omidyar and Dalberg, and 64% of the respondents said that they were facing serious loss of income. So, I mean, the situation is really dire. It needs immediate responses, as you've been hearing throughout your program. But I think the philanthropic community also needs to now start thinking of the midterm response. So yes, there is hunger, as Anshu just told us, and that has to be dealt with first. But I think luckily in India, we have a very thriving civil society, and we have had a good reason to understand just how important that civil society infrastructure is in my country, because they have been the first responders. They've been going out there. They have a direct connection to the citizens. So they are giving us the feedback loops that we need to even tweak the state's decision-making process. And that's been something that we've learned, which has been positive. But there's a lot more, obviously, to be done. So I'm really grateful for ChaloGive and for what you are doing for the community in the US that is going to reach out to all our people here. Thank you so much for that.
So how have you pivoted some of your grant making or what you're thinking about during this crisis?
Yeah, so some of us went out and made a public statement as to what philanthropists should do at a time like this, which is basically operate on trust. All these years we've been having our NGO partners and we know them, we can trust them. At this point, we have said we will loosen up all our impact reporting requirements. We will give complete freedom in terms of the use of that philanthropic capital for needs on the ground as the NGOs see it, which I think is very important. We will come from a space of more generosity, so we are revising our budgets, doing what we have to do to respond as quickly as we can. And some of us are also saying that we will, right now, Hari, there is a lot of giving. Retail giving has stepped up considerably. There has been, corporations in India have been giving to all the government schemes as well as to NGOs. But some of us are saying, we will also hold our firepower so that when some kind of donor fatigue sets in, and I really hope in your community there will be no donor fatigue at all, but when it does set in, then some of us will have to really think of what are the most structural things that need to continue to happen so that people's livelihood loss, water security, we are just heading into the most severe summer. We all need to start thinking about water security as more and more people are going back to their villages and intend to stay there. So I would say the philanthropic community is thinking at these two levels. How can you give much more flexibility to all your partners right now? And how can you start planning for the midterm?
How do you inspire or get the diaspora community engaged? Because as you mentioned, there is the potential for donor fatigue in the sort of closer community, but here are people in the United States, in Europe, in Africa, in South America, Indians from all over how do you make sure that they are plugged into this, that somehow someone has either reached them or that they have a connection and that they can actually take action to solve or help solve the crisis in India?
Yeah, this has been an ongoing problem, because I know from my travels and that many people in the diaspora want to give, but sometimes they don't know how to give and whom to give to. There have been ongoing attempts to create platforms, and Indiaspora is definitely one of them, so that you can build these networks of trust, so that there are channels like ChaloGive where people feel comfortable giving. So one thing is to create those intermediary organizations that allow for networks of trust to build, not just when there are disasters, but much before that. The second thing, I think very importantly, and some of my funding goes towards that, is to allow NGOs to communicate better what they do, just to tell their stories better. There's nothing more powerful than a good story to keep people engaged. And so these are the two things I would say to reach the diaspora, who cares so much about what's happening to about 600 million people who are in need. Because one thing I do want to say is that, we don't want to return to the old normal. The old normal was not a very just normal in India, right? There was not enough justice and equity. We want to use this opportunity to create a new normal. All of us who have anything to do with India know that all our fates are interconnected. So we keep that story of interconnection alive, and we keep being inspired by this interconnectedness, so that we can engage our hearts, and right now I think all your pockets as well, so that we can make things better, not just return to where we were.
That's a great idea to end on. Rohini Nilekani, you also know the value of a story by being a journalist yourself in a former life. And thanks so much for joining us, and good luck with what's going on in India and all the places that you're helping.
Thank you, and I hope in America as well. Feeding America, that's very important. We don't want to see hunger in America. We want America to do well too. So please give generously to India, but also to your own country's people. Thank you and namaste.
Hi, everybody. We are back. I want to give a warm and special welcome to our Dia TV viewers. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And of course, hello on YouTube and Facebook or wherever else you are watching this. Tonight, we're going to ask you for a couple things. First and foremost, if you could share this live stream on your own Facebook page, that would be amazing. Or in the comments, type the name of somebody who needs to see this. If you're just joining us right now, welcome. Or if you are watching the playback, we want you to know that ChaloGive is not just a 1 or 2 hour thing. ChaloGive is still live and you can still give. We are asking you tonight to go to chalogive.org and make a donation. You have 3 options. Give to Feeding America to help alleviate the hunger crisis right here in the United States. You can give to GOONJ, our trusted partner in India, who is providing meal kits. And my personal favorite, I think you should give to both. If you are an Indian American born in India and living in America, or if you are the child or grandchild of somebody of Indian heritage, you know that our connection to India is deep, and donating to India needs your help, and Indian Americans were on the front line of our philanthropy. I have some great news. While we were waiting, we had 4 new donations. How amazing. I'm going to read their names real quick and pop a popper. And obviously, I'm not Indian. I do not speak Hindi or any other type of Indian dialect. So if I butcher your name, my deepest apologies. Sreenivasan, I believe we're friends on Facebook. Anita Schwartz, Vijay Sundaram, and Yogesh Churk. Join those 4 names. And of course, Rhonda Bida. Any amount matters. Nobody saw my confetti before, so I'm going to do it towards the camera. Oh, did I scare my camera? Did I freeze? I have no idea if you can still hear me. Thanks so much. We're coming up live in a few minutes. I'll be back. My camera is frozen. No idea if you can see me. Again.
Hello, I'm back again. This is M.R. Rangaswamy here. And now we're going to hear from one of my dear friends who's in India, and he's an amazing rock star. And he is a Grammy Award winner. So I'd love to welcome on stage Ricky Kej. Ricky?
Today.
Hey, Ricky. Good morning in India.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you, man? I have to tell you, the privileges of knowing a Grammy Award winner is I get tickets to the Grammys. So once again, thank you this year for giving me your tickets. And that was one of the few pre-COVID events I was able to be lucky enough to attend. So thanks once again. So tell me, what is it like to be winning a Grammy? What's that all about?
Of course, it was an absolute pleasure to give you and your daughter my tickets, and so glad that you enjoyed the show. So the Grammys have always, being a musician, the Grammys have always felt like sort of like an unattainable dream, that this would never happen during this lifetime. So it was pretty cool that I managed to win a Grammy at the age of 33, and I'm just the 4th Indian to have won a Grammy. So it was a huge, huge honor. And of course, like with any award, one can always look at an award as vanity, yay, I won an award, whatever. But for me, I looked at this award as being a platform because, as you know, along with being a musician, I'm an environmentalist from the heart. And these are two pillars that have pretty much dictated my whole life, music and the environment. And after I won the Grammy, I decided very strongly that every piece of music that I ever make is going to be about the environment. And I'm going to dedicate my life and my musical career entirely till the day I die to the environment and to various social causes around the environment. And that's how the Grammys basically changed my life. So you will never see me making an item song or a Bollywood movie music. The only kind of music that I make is about the environment and positive social impact.
Fantastic. That is great to hear, and very positive news to save the planet. As we get out of COVID, we got to start, like Rohini said, not going back to the old normal. We got to go back to a new normal. And so I know on Earth Day, you brought together an amazing group of musicians. I watched that. And for people who haven't watched Ricky's Earth Day show, please go and watch it on YouTube on his channel. But tell me more. How did you pull all these people together across the world?
So as I say that, every day is supposed to be Earth Day, and I absolutely agree with that. But it's always nice to have that one day when you can forget about everything else and just celebrate what you love and cherish the most. During this COVID times, I've had more than 14 concerts in 6 countries cancelled. And in fact, on Earth Day, I was supposed to perform in Washington, D.C., very close to where you guys are. And obviously that was cancelled. So I decided to do an online concert. And while planning this particular online concert, I realized that there is no difference between me actually collaborating with a musician right next door in Bangalore, or a musician in New York, or a musician in Senegal, or a musician in Australia, because everything's online. So I decided to use the world as my playground, and we created this concert, Ricky Kej Live, at One Page Spotlight. And basically we had 44 musicians from 6 different countries. We were broadcast live with national broadcasters in more than 75 countries. Of course, including India. So it was just an amazing, amazing experience.
Fantastic. And tell me something. We're going to play a song right after we finish up here. Shine Your Light. That's one of your anthem songs, if I were to say that. And you got this amazing choir. You got all kinds of great people. How did you think about that? And how did you pull off getting a choir?
So the song was co-written by Lonnie Park and me, a friend of mine from New York. And the choir is, of course, the Zanzi Youth Choir. They are an amazing choir from Soweto, South Africa, a choir that has been built for giving an opportunity to underprivileged kids. So it was a huge honor for me to collaborate with them. Now, as we've been speaking about during this the course of this entire webinar, that that we've got so many problems which are affecting our countries and also affecting the world in general. And but the biggest threat, in my opinion, that we face as the human species is the constant thought that we have that somebody else will make a difference. We're always waiting for governments to make a difference, for intergovernmental bodies, for NGOs, for everybody to make a difference, when the truth is that we ourselves can make a huge difference by just figuratively shining our light on everyone around us. So that's how this song was formed. It's about behavioral change. It's about bringing about incremental change within our own lives to affect the lives of everyone around us. And of course, through this particular platform, it's very easy for us to make a difference and shine our light on everybody else by just going to ChaloGive and donating money and making the life of everybody else around us better.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ricky. Now we're going to play your song and enjoy it. Thank you so much.
Can remind us like a simple act of kindness. Hey, and in the blackest of night, just one flash of light shows we're not alone. No, not today. It is time. Let's do this. It's our time. Let's do this. It is time to shine your light. Let's do this. It is time to shine your light. जो साथ निभाऊं तू जो साथ निभाए तो बात बन जाए तो ये रात ढल जाए मैं जो साथ निभाऊं तू जो साथ निभाए तो बात बन जाए तो ये रात ढल जाए चलो हाथ बढ़ाएं चलो सबको दिखाएं कोई भी यहाँ अकेला ना है It is time, let's do this, it's our time. Let's do this, it is time to shine a light. Let's do this, it is time to shine your light. Come on! Whoa, 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 whoa.
Wow, what a beautiful conclusion to a wonderful first hour where we heard from so many speakers who are doing so much great work on the ground, whether it's in the US or India. And it was really interesting to hear that, whether it's different countries, I think this idea of hunger is just so pressing and in a way kind of brings us together because so many of the issues that we heard from from Claire of Feeding America and Naren of Panera Bread were also echoed in what we heard from Anshu and his work on the ground in India, and with Rohini and her work with philanthropy in India as well. So it's really great for all of you guys who are joining us tonight, who are just tuning in. This is our first ChaloGive live show, and we're so excited to be doing it and bringing our community together and kind of telling what our community is doing about people who are facing food insecurity in the US. And we have an amazing lineup of speakers this second hour. We're going to hear from Nina Davuluri, a speaker, advocate, and Miss America 2014. We're also going to hear from Atul Satija, CEO of GiveIndia. It is our partner organization in India and the largest donation platform in India. One of the things that we found with our work at Indiaspora is the reason that some people are reticent about giving is that there is some mistrust. They don't know where to give. They don't know how the money will be used. His platform helps people cut through that and feel good about giving. So if you want to give, please go to chalogive.org. We have two partner organizations, Feeding America in the US, GOONJ in India, and all of that money goes directly to those organizations who are on the front lines fighting hunger now. In addition, we're also going to hear from Aradhana Asava, who's co-founder of a movement to end hunger called HungerMitao. We're going to hear from Sangeetha Lakshminarayanan, president and founder of Aram, a grassroots organization based in the Bay Area, and we are so privileged to have her support, her organization support. And Durgaprasad S., co-founder and group CEO of CyberTek Group and an Indiaspora Founder Circle member. So without further ado, I want to introduce Gita and Oliver Bangera. They are restaurant owners in Seattle, and they have been so kind to open their doors to their restaurant and host Indiaspora on more than one occasion, including when we had dinner with Nobel laureate Kailashji. And they've been just doing amazing work. So welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being here. And please tell us about the work that you are doing right now to help people on the front lines.
So when this shutdown happened, it was interesting that my staff came to me and said, we got to do something. We can sit and mope about, but it's important that we do something. And we reached out to some of the hospitals here, and there was a tentative response in the beginning. Somebody said, how about 50 meals? Over the last 3 weeks, it's gone from 50 meals a week to 450 meals a week now.
Wow.
We are supplying to about 7, not supplying, we're donating about 7 hospitals right now. And it is, it's fantastic because, we are going to the ER of each of these hospitals to donate. And, the food is cooked fresh that morning. And the staff comes in at 5 a.m., 6 a.m. to make sure that fresh food is cooked. By 11 o'clock, that food is delivered to, this is a group of the ER nurses from Swedish. And it has become so popular that it's really heartwarming for us, and we love doing that. And we were inspired by the Sikh community because every time there's a crisis somewhere, you see the local Gurdwara really stepping up and doing it. And it was for us, it's a fantastic inspiration, and we thought we need to do something. It's a very small thing compared to what they do, but
no, that's really wonderful. I mean, you're right that the Sikh community is a wonderful example of service, and M.R. Rangaswamy at the beginning of the show also mentioned what they're doing, and it's really an inspiration. And we're so wonderful that they also serve as an inspiration for all of the work that you're doing right now. I wanted to ask, what are some of the most pressing concerns that you see in the near term, and then maybe in the long term when it comes to, the restaurant industry and, fellow restaurant owners, in Seattle and in the US and maybe even, abroad?
I mean, the thing about restaurant industry is, and I may be off a few percentage points here, but almost 80% of the employees in the kitchen restaurants across the country are immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
And they expect in Seattle, they're talking about almost half the restaurants in Seattle will not reopen. We're talking about thousands and thousands of immigrants losing their jobs. And remember, a lot of these people are refugees who are going through their immigration processes. Their lawyers are saying, hey, don't get into unemployment because this could go against you during your process. Well, where are they going to go? How are they going to feed themselves? One of the reasons why we kept our restaurant open was because about 5 of my employees were in that position. They are legal, they have work permit, everything. But their lawyers are saying, do not go into this. So if you look at it, just as Seattle as half the restaurants, think about New York. A lot of those restaurants are not going to reopen. A lot of these guys are going to be out of a job. And that's worrying. The second thing we worry about is, if this economy goes into a depression, that's going to hurt, so the restaurant industry is looking at a really bleak couple of years, I would think, and that worries us.
Yes, it is worrisome, and yet it's so inspiring that despite that, with all of these challenges, you found a way to stay open. And I'm guessing that all the staff is able to social distance and do those things so that they can safely deliver all of these meals to so many hospitals across Seattle.
Yeah, but it was the staff. While they are going through this really tough time, very uncertain time. Remember, these are people who have families in India waiting for that, remittance from here. These are really, really tough times. These are the same people who came to me and said, we need to do something. Not for themselves. It was for the community. And that is really inspiring.
It is. Yeah.
People who are going through really, we are very secure financially. But these people are going through really miserable time. And yet they're able to sort of see beyond themselves and beyond their own problems, saying, no, we need to do something. Right. They weren't sure how to do it. But, once you see that willingness, these are people who come in at 5 a.m. I go and pick them up. We are not letting any of our employees use public transportation. So I go and pick them up. But the fact that they're willing to do it, and not one of them has missed a day. They come in, they make sure everything gets done. And so it's really inspiring that, so we really got the best out of people.
Right. That's wonderful. Well, it's an inspiring story, and we are so thankful and inspired by the work that you and your staff are doing. And do you have any final words for their viewers out here? Anything that maybe we missed covering right now?
No, we just want to post. We've just posted on our webpage about ChaloGive Live, and we want everybody to post on their Twitter feed and Facebook and all over the place.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Oliver and Gita.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, great. That was really inspiring work. It's great when you hear stories about people who are able to overcome adversity and succeed in these times and really do something for the community. Like he was saying, even when you yourself are not sure about the future. Next up, I want to introduce Anna Asava. She is, and her actual name is Aradhana Asava, I should say. And she is such an inspiration as well. She and her husband have co-founded a movement to eliminate food insecurity. It's called HungerMitao. And before I let her talk about her work, I just want to say that she and her husband have both had very successful corporate careers and gave them up so that they could focus full-time and make it their personal passion to really tackle this issue of food insecurity. Aradhana?
Thank you, Mansi. Good evening, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today with you. What an inspirational evening it's been already. And I have wonderful news. In a little under 2.5 years, through HungerMitao, the Indian American community has enabled more than 10 million meals for the food banks in the US. And that was before COVID. And in just 2.5 weeks during the COVID crisis, our partnership with Indiaspora has resulted in 5 million meals. Wow, in just 2.5 weeks. So 10 million meals in 2.5 years and 5 million meals in 2.5 weeks. It's an example of what is possible when a community comes together, unifies its resources, and collaborates around one common cause. We can take on any challenge and our community shines. My husband Raj and I, co-founders of HungerMitao, are proud to partner with MR and Indiaspora for the ChaloGive initiative. What a wonderful reason and what a wonderful way to give, right? An opportunity to contribute to our Janmabhoomi and Karmabhoomi through just one simple act of compassion. Many generous donors have come forward during this time of need. A couple in Connecticut pledged a 6-figure gift and has committed to launching HungerMitao at the Connecticut Food Bank. We are extremely excited to get started on this relationship. Thank you, Narendra and Neeta. But let me switch gears a bit. You must be wondering, what is this HungerMitao? Well, HungerMitao means wipe out hunger. Just plain old wipe out hunger. It's a movement to engage the Indian American community in the fight against hunger across America. It's not an organization, but a secular grassroots movement. It was formed to raise hunger awareness, increase volunteerism, as well as channel the collective resources and contributions of the Indian American community towards a hunger-free America. In our due diligence, we found that the Feeding America network of food banks, as Claire mentioned this evening, it covers and serves the entire country with amazing efficiency and transparency. So instead of starting a separate initiative, we decided to put our muscle behind the food bank system. Donations of all resources go directly to the food bank and are acknowledged by them. Our vision is twofold. One, engage in the fight against hunger with our resources to ensure that no one goes hungry. Second, to unify the community as a cohesive force against hunger, such that the Indian American community is recognized as a leader in fighting hunger. HungerMitao was first launched in Dallas at the North Texas Food Bank in 2017. The Indian community in North Texas embraced the purity of cause, simplicity of message, and the opportunity to unify, and through its support behind the North Texas Food Bank. And since then, HungerMitao has spread to food banks in Houston, New York City, Atlanta, and Seattle. You know, we tend to equate hunger with homelessness. And since we generally do not see rampant homelessness in the US, many of us are unaware of the magnitude of hunger around us. Hunger in America was already unbelievable, with more than 39 million people across the country who are food challenged. And then COVID pulled the rug out from under our feet. As you know, unemployment lines are growing longer and faster than ever. A stunning 26.5 million Americans have sought unemployment benefits since mid-March, and this crisis shows no end. Just this morning, we learned that food distribution at Houston Food Bank has gone from 400,000 pounds a day to 1.5 million pounds a day. These are staggering numbers, and we must engage. Our mission, friends, is HungerMitao. And HungerMitao is as much about eradicating hunger as it is about unifying the fragmented efforts of our community and focusing it on the humanitarian cause of hunger. Let's come together as the entire Indian American community and show how any place we call home benefits from our presence. We are smart, compassionate change agents who bloom where we are planted. I leave you today, Mansi, with something that Raj often says. While we may never be able to eradicate hunger, Let us ensure no one goes hungry. HungerMitao. Thank you, folks, for listening. And now I would like to invite Abra to take us a little deeper into ChaloGive.
Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much. You know, I just want to reiterate that if you're joining us live or you're watching the playback, in Diaspora, we're a 501c3. We're a nonprofit organization, and every single dollar that we raise tonight and throughout the whole ChaloGive initiative will be passed on directly to our two partners, Feeding America here in the United States and GOONJ in India. You just go right over to chalogive.org. You can see our total keeps going up. I would love it to keep going up even more. We have raised $1,028,269. And we have had a couple donations come through in the past few minutes. We had Yogesh Chug, Milind Gokran, and I'm so sorry if I'm butchering your names, I'm so sorry, and Lotai Rinchin. Thank you so much for your generous donations. I do not know the amounts, but whether they're $5 or $5,000 or $500,000, every single dollar matters. You know, we are reaching a crisis point, and it's been kind of building like a wave for the past few weeks. And this is a time for us to stand with the people, the citizens of the United States and of India. This is not just a momentary disaster like an earthquake. This is a disaster in the making. It's still unfolding. It's a disaster in India, of displacement, of migration, of joblessness. Millions of people are having to walk back to their villages where they have nothing. They were the sole breadwinner, and in their job in the city, they were a migrant worker. They traveled, and now they have no way to feed their families. And so we are working on the ground with our partner, GOONJ, who has been established in India for 20 years, and they're creating these ration kits. And each ration kit is $20, and that $20, that ration kit feeds a family for 7 to 10 days. That is just incredible value for your donation. If you can right now, donate $20 or add a zero and make it $200, or add a couple zeros and make it $2,000, whatever feels right to you. GOONJ has been operating in India for 20 years. They have all the logistical network set up, the supply chain set up. They're operating in 15 states. They are looking to expand to 25 states. $20, $200, whatever you can give, head over right now to chalogive.org. It's going to give you 3 options: give to Feeding America, give to GOONJ, or what I think is your best option, giving to both. And we promise we will pass on the money evenly to both of our partners. You know, Feeding America has a network of 200 food banks, and they are now seeing a demand increasing day by day. And 40% of the people who are coming to them right now during this COVID crisis have never asked for help before. These are people who are out of work. They don't have money. They need to feed their families. And what a horrible situation to be in, to choose between paying for medicine or food. And if you can get food from Feeding America, we hope that it's there. And as we heard at the beginning of the hour, donations are down. There's a deep decrease in volunteers, and that is why we are asking for your support. We need to get food to the people. I said it before, let's stand with our people, and we can show them right now by making a donation at chalogive.org. If you cannot make a donation, which I hope you can, share this video. If you can't make a monetary donation, share the video, publish it on your Facebook feed, tag somebody in the comments. If you don't know how to do that, hit the @ symbol and their name, or just type their name in a comment and it will pop up on their feed. Anybody who needs to see this, anybody you know who loves India, has been to India, is part of our Indian American community, like me. I am, I'm kind of ingrained. I have so many Indian American friends. I work with the Indian American philanthropy community. It is time for us to stand up and stand with the people during this crisis. And this crisis is doesn't have an end in sight, and we need to stand with our people. Again, ChaloGive.org, or if you'd like to, you can go to indiaspora.org and make a donation there. We are accepting donations via PayPal, however you want to give, however much you want to give, we appreciate it. I have some more poppers, but my computer froze and broke down last time I popped it. So if you are donating right now, here's a virtual pop just for you. I will be back in a little bit, but now I want to introduce again our good friend. Hold on, I just don't want to butcher it, you know. Such like a, I don't even know what it's called. Again, thank you for your support. Please make a donation. We're now going to hear another song from Ricky Kej. It's called From Earth Day.
Plant your dreams in the soil and water them with love. Living in harmony, it's only natural. What an amazing gift this is, to be conscious and choose to do what's right. For life. Everybody together. Time to make it right. Time to make it right. No more looking back. Times have been dark, but only so we can see the light. Now we've learned together that nature knows best. She's everything we need. What an amazing gift this is, to be conscious and choose to do what's right. We've got to stand up for life. Everybody together. Time to make it right. Time to make it right.
Hello, everyone. This is M.R. Rangaswamy with Indiaspora, back again for the next couple of segments. I know some of you might have seen or watched or heard about a big concert in India that took place a couple of days ago. And so we're going to bring up the man behind the scene, the person, the instigator. Let's have Atul Satija with GiveIndia and The Nudge, please. Atul, good morning.
Hey, Amar, good evening. How are you doing?
Great, thank you. So I know, I can't imagine you're awake this early in the morning in India after that big concert, man. I mean, you had all these movie stars, cricketers, artists. It was a bang-up show. I loved seeing every minute of it. Tell me, how the heck do you pull something off together when nobody's seeing each other?
Yeah, no, I think first of all, Glad you liked it and you watched the whole thing. It was quite a long show, actually. It was a 4-hour composition, and everybody was at home, so it was not an easy one. But I think the agency that did the event pulled off almost like a miracle here. 85 plus celebrities, all in their homes, actually coordinating a lot of stuff was amazing. I think when we started the work there, we didn't realize how much people wanted almost like a break from the lockdown in India, and wanted sort of to see people that they know and connect to, show solidarity. And I think it broke a lot of records while it went live. We saw close to about, we've seen 15 million views just in the last 48 hours since the show went live. And I think it was the largest ever live fundraiser on Facebook globally. And that was pretty amazing as well. We are at about $500,000 raised directly from that, and about $4.5 million raised for that event from philanthropists outside. 17,000 donors or so came forward in just that 4-hour window. So quite a show.
Fabulous. Congratulations on that. And after this interview, you need to go get some sleep. So let me ask you this. I know with GiveIndia, you looked at the crisis in a holistic way. So can you share your thoughts? I know you have 4 work streams you're giving to, and can you just explain to all of us how you're doing this?
Yeah. So Amar, I think around 22nd of March is when we started working on it. And the first thing we did is set up a couple of missions online. One was directly to provide the cash relief to the people who lost their livelihoods and hence income. Along with that, we realized a lot of people who are not at home are not able to exercise social distancing. They live in very dense communities. So this luxury of keeping distance is not really available to them. So just being able to give them resources so that they can exercise some hygiene and sanitation is important. So prevention kits is also something that we started providing. We realized that everybody was so deeply connected to their domestic helps and drivers and cooks and people who support us every day in cities, that the cash relief program took off really well. A lot of people came forward and started donating to that. But I think as we went deeper into the lockdown, we realized that there are other sort of areas of work that we were not focusing on early on. Hunger and food became a very, very big problem here. And I'm very glad that you guys are championing that cause with Feeding America in US and GOONJ in India. And GOONJ is a long-standing partner for GiveIndia. So really glad to see that support coming. That's the third thing we're doing here. And then as the number of cases in India are rising, we realize that there's a huge last mile inefficiency of PP kit availability in India. So now we are also working on providing PP kits to all the healthcare workers, doctors, nurses, and paramedics, in especially the hotspot cities.
Great.
So these are the 4 areas of work.
Fantastic. Now tell me, what does the future look like? I know this crisis is not over by any means. What does the future look like in your mind? You're on the ground. Take us through that.
See, it's a very difficult question, Emma. This is not a kind of disaster that humanity has ever seen in like a century, right? So it's very, very difficult to predict what lies ahead. I think right now the best thing to do is to make sure that we are responding to the situation in the best way possible from our side. We do know that in India, for example, all the developmental progress we've made in the last decade, every year's progress we are losing in days and weeks, which means there's a huge amount of work that is pending in front of us to get people back on their feet. The savings that families had done over 5 years, 7 years, 10 years are all gone now. So there is a rehab, there's a recovery phase that will start after this, building resilience after that. And this entire rehabilitation is a 3 to 5 year project. No matter how fast we are able to come out of this. So we are, from a GiveIndia lens, gearing up for, how do you kind of do this together? Working with communities, especially where the sources of migrant workers are, UP and Bihar and Jharkhand and communities like that. So we are preparing for that phase as we speak.
Thank you, Atul, for waking up early and talking to us. And for those viewers of our show here, if you're not one of the 15 million people who have seen I for India, or you want to see it again, it's still available. And so we encourage all of you to go take a look. And Atul, once again, thank you for being a great partner to ChaloGive and in diaspora. Take care. Thank you. And that was a wonderful update from Atul on the program, GiveIndia program, and the Fight for India campaign that was so successfully ran. Now, let's see a quick video before we go on further.
Hello friends, Dabi and I stay home for my sister Mina, who is fighting on the front lines for COVID-19. If you are also able to donate to the millions of Americans and Indians who are suffering from food inequality, I have partnered with Indiaspora on their initiative ChaloGive. So swipe up, join me, and Chalo, let's give.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That was former Miss America activist and keynote speaker and all things good. Let's welcome Nina Davuluri. Hi, Nina.
Hi, Amar. Thank you for having me. This has been such a wonderful time that I've been able to spend with seeing so many great faces, and congrats to you on this production as well. It's been really lovely to see everyone.
Great, great. Thank you for for you being here with us today. And I got to ask you, I know you were busy pre-COVID with a project, I think, called Complexion, and you went to India and did things like that. And then suddenly COVID got in the way. Can you kind of tell us what you were up to?
Yeah, so I have been working for, I guess, almost a year and a half now on a documentary, and it's called Complexion. And what started as, something that I had experienced, especially growing up in a South Asian family and background, is the lighter skin you are, the more beautiful you're considered. But that also translates to inequality for women more so than men around education, careers, and just daily life within India. So it's very much also a socioeconomic factor. So we were able to film in Italy, and then we were also where we were at Venice Film Festival, which launched our project, which was really great. And then in January, we were in Bangladesh and India. It was an interest, I think, for me going to India, especially filming where we did. We worked with a lot of orphanages on the ground and groups that were really helpful in terms of filming and partnering with, that were able to access the correct people that we could speak with. And also have a broad range of people that we were interviewing, from the wealthy to also the poor, and how the skin lightening industry affects every class, I think, in India is what we found. So it's been on hold for the time being for obvious reasons, but we will be releasing our footage hopefully in the next week. We're going to be able to start releasing what we like to call our drops via social media and share some of those stories that we were, and for you guys to meet some of the people that we worked with. Great.
Look forward to some of the Indian segments. I know, like you said, complexion and color impacts people with darker skin, and they, kind of a lot of them are also poor. So it's a double whammy of sorts. So please do keep us posted on that. And now India has got the COVID crisis too.
Yeah. Unfortunately, my mom is actually still in India. She was there visiting her sister there in Vijayawada. She was there and scheduled to come back in the first week of March. And given everything that happened, obviously the safest place for her was to stay at the time. So thankfully, fortunately, they are all doing well and staying safe and inside. But, I think this was the other part of the conversation that so many people have talked about. And I think also in regards to with complexion is that what we're realizing even here and dealing with hunger in both countries and kind of being able to see both sides of it, is that women of color are affected here much more %, especially women on the front lines that are, our doctors and nurses that are also in the service industry that don't necessarily have the nest egg to rely on to plan for something like this. They're being very seriously affected in our countries right now. And one of those aspects is also hunger. So one of the initiatives that our team is also taking on for Complexion is how can we work with those organizations such as Indiaspora to really also spread that message out there, that knowing that that's a whole conversation that's happening here.
Great. Good to hear that, and keep us posted on that, I'm sure. Also, let's turn to New York. You live in New York. How are you weathering the storm? I know your sister is a MD on the front lines. So what's going on in the epicenter of this crisis?
Yeah, she has been on the front lines. Thankfully, there seems to be some light at the end of the tunnel. She's no longer actually on the COVID floor seeing COVID patients starting this week. So they had enough physicians and doctors, and she's a urologist, so she was able to go back to urology. But she's still, working every day. I'm actually in upstate New York. I was able to come to Syracuse, which is where my mom's house is. So I've been quarantined up here. So it's kind of been hard. All of us are in separate areas during this time. But thankfully for, just the fact that we've all been healthy. Mina, who's my sister, the physician, she has been positive throughout this process and has taken necessary precautions. And I think just even for her to face this, she's been keeping us a little sane. So that's been really helpful.
And, New York is a city I love to visit because of all the restaurants and everything is shuttered. And ironically, the restaurant workers are the ones now unemployed and don't have food. So what do you feel about all that situation there?
So I've actually been partnering with some of my favorite restaurant chefs whom I adore and love. And this was a conversation we had. What can we do? How can we use our platform to support your workers and everyone who's so important in our lives? And so we started doing Instagram live cooking shows with all the chefs. And for everyone who tunes in, they have the option to donate to their restaurant relief fund to help these workers and their families. So again, being able to use our platforms virtually has been something that's really, I think, been positive and uplifting. Everyone is cooking in the kitchen now. So if you're able to support any, these workers, or if you see something like this via Instagram or Facebook Live, I would encourage you to tune in and also share and donate.
Great. So once again, Nina, thank you so much. And thank you. We really appreciate you doing the video for us. And that's been played thousands of times on Facebook and Instagram. And we really thank you for all the support you've given us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, that was Nina Davuluri, the former Miss America, and now a social activist and a movie producer doing a documentary movie called Complexion. And so we'd love to keep you updated on what she's doing as well. And now we're going to have a couple of interesting people come up, and we're going to talk to them about why they decided that they needed to give to ChaloGive. And really, let's bring up our two guests at this time, DP as we call him, Durgaprasad, and we also have Sangeetha Lakshminarayanan as well. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Good evening, Amar. And good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Great. Great to have you. Just to give some context, DP, as we call him, I'm MR, he's DP. We all go by initials. DP is the CEO of a very successful IT company based in the Middle East, but he has also operations in India and US and many other places. So DP, tell us a little bit about how is your company and how are you personally handling the situation with a global company with employees all over the world? What has your response been to your own people?
Fortunately, we are a company that looks at outcome-based assignments. So we either work on efficiencies or effectiveness for our clients. So there is a lot of demand for this kind of organizations who can come and help people more in the situations such as these. So that's one. I treat it as an opportunity that cannot be wasted. Number two, I think in terms of people within the organization, we need to be extremely close with them. Right now, we have had a number of sessions, forums at the strategic management layer across the organization, communication with them regularly to ensure that they are addressed not only at the organization level, but at the personal level as well. So being in touch with them matters a lot, and we have done that. And we also felt that there are many companies that we work with are wanting to fast track their digital initiatives. Probably they find time as well to sit back, listen to their internal stakeholders, come back with the strategic decisions, which can catapult them to a different plane when the market opens up. So there is a lot of activity going on, and I would say while the threat is on with respect to cash flow, with respect to banks supporting people during these difficult times, but there is definitely a huge opportunity. Telemedicine, e-learning, AI, ML, and a number of areas that RPA for that matter, where people have less number of people, but then they need to automate and scale. So there is a lot of activity going on.
Right. Thank you. And Sangeetha, I know you're in the heart of Silicon Valley. What's happening out in the Valley in terms of just COVID-related work and environment and the mood? Sangeetha? Yeah. Let me continue with DP. So DP, why, I know you're one of our founder circle members, and why did you decide to take an active role in ChaloGive, working with yourself personally giving, but also your family, your friends, your network? Take us through why you did it and how you're doing this giving.
I think we all come from the
Sorry, I think we have Sangeetha. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm here now.
Yeah, please. Sorry, we'll come back to DP, but if you could, Sangeetha, tell us how is the mood and the environment in San Jose?
Yeah, so with the remote working, I think we are definitely learning new skills. It's been pretty different from what you're used to as a person going into the office every day. It also has resulted in longer days, work days. So in a way, I think it's good. So it keeps you away from moving out of the house, keeping you busy. And our volunteers also from Aram say, we meet virtually. So just to keep things going, especially in this unprecedented time. So it's been a huge learning experience during this COVID-19 situation.
Yeah, and tell me, Aram is a volunteer network, and we were so gratified because when you called and said you're making a donation on behalf of your NGO to ChaloGive, that was amazing. But also, you were the one who put us over the $1 million mark. So thank you for that. But what was your decision process within the volunteer group to actually give to some cause like ChaloGive?
Absolutely. You and I go way back, MR. So the Aram volunteers, the core group, as we refer to them, we are just a bunch of us, about 12, 13 of us. They need no introduction to you. So that was a big plus, bringing ChaloGive to their attention. Aram in its focus in supporting grassroots charities worldwide in education and healthcare, one of the promises we make to our donors is 100% of their donations goes towards the end beneficiary. And that's something that ChaloGive presented to us, both through Feeding America and through GOONJ. So the decision was unanimous. So thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to be a part of supporting ChaloGive's Feeding America and GOONJ.
Thank you, Sangeetha. We're now DP is back from wherever he is. I think he's in India, but I'm not sure. But
I'm in India. You're right.
So DP, walk us through what your thought process was to get your family, yourself, your network involved in ChaloGive.
Sure. I think I would echo Sangeetha's thoughts. Clearly, what we give goes to the people directly. I think that's one very, very important element in our decision process. Second, we also believe that happiness is crazy arithmetic. It multiplies when you divide it. So I think we do have a lot of people in the community who are less fortunate than many of us. So it was very, very important for people to come together. And instead of giving it as just an organizational contribution, we spread it around to all our employees. And everyone unanimously came in and without any hesitation participated in this. So we've been partnering with you in US, India, and of course we have that collection in Middle East and Far East, which we are trying to find partners there. And then we are very happy to partner with you, MR and ChaloGive. and we hope that we're able to contribute more and more as time progresses.
No, this is terrific. It was great, I think, to hear from both of you and really see how communities are forming to give together. And I think that's a special element that both of you bring, is bringing friends, family, volunteers, and your whole network to a cause. That you can multiply that so many times. So thanks to both of you for joining us, and God bless.
Thank you.
And our best wishes to you and further success to ChaloGive.
Thank you so much.
Best wishes, Amar, and of course, ChaloGive.
Thank you. And now we're going to, I know we had a little bit of a technical difficulty, but is the video playable now so we can see a short video? So let's give it a minute.
I'm Rajiv Satyal. I often hear, where are you from? Los Angeles. No, where are you really from? Cincinnati? No, where are you really from? My mother? Well, my parents are from India. I am Indian, and I'm American. Whenever I donate, I often have to choose between my ethnicity and my nationality. But with ChaloGive.org, I can contribute to the motherland and the states. ChaloGive.org. And
ladies and gentlemen, that was funny man Rajiv Satyal, who also, by the way, besides doing the PSA for us, has done a Corona cheer, a set of videos with prominent Indian Americans. I urge you to go take a look at all the nice 15-second videos he's done with prominent Indian Americans and Indians as well. So thank you, Rajiv. And now for the final part, we're going to go back to Abra and check in with her and see how things are going there. Abra?
Thanks, Amar. I just want to tell a short little story. I have these like little crumpled dollar bills. You know, we're all stuck at home, even though I have this kind of fun backdrop. I am still at home. And my oldest daughter, who's 8, can hear me. Her bedroom's right next door to my office. And she heard me talking about all the hungry people and the help. And she heard me say like $2, and she ran in here with $2. So obviously I will make my own donation to ChaloGive.org tonight, but ChaloGive, these $2 from my 8-year-old daughter are for you. And for everyone watching at home, whether you're just joining us or you're finishing out the night with us, $2 is enough. $1 equals 1 meal. That $2, that is 2 meals. You can make a donation, head to ChaloGive.org, and you're presented with 3 amazing opportunities. Give to Feeding America or giving to our partner in India, GOONJ, and you could choose either one of those, or you could choose the third option, the best option in my opinion, which is give to both. With one donation, you can help relieve the hunger crisis, the food crisis right here in America and in India. If you feel affinity to India, you can just give to India. If you feel affinity just for the United States, you can just give there. But I encourage you tonight to make a donation to both. Again, we heard there are millions upon people waiting in line for food. Food banks, we heard from Feeding America earlier, they are changing the way that they give out food. Going into the food bank is not an option now. So the 200 food banks in their network are having to rethink things and come up with how to give food mobily to people. They're doing drive-throughs, drive-through food delivery, food bank delivery. You drive up and they hand you the food bag. Our partner in India, GOONJ, well established, 20 years in India as a trusted philanthropic partner. And they have, I'm turning this monitor off. Sorry, guys, I'm at home. I got my baby monitor here. GOONJ has repurposed their entire supply line to deliver food into the communities that need it the most. Again, you're going to go to ChaloGive.org. You're going to click the button. Whether it is $2 or $200, it doesn't matter. If you're watching this live or you're watching the playback, we hope that you can find the time, finding in your heart to make a gift tonight. Whatever size it is, we will appreciate it. We are trying to raise our next $1 million. You can see right there on your screen. We have raised over $1 million. We are trying to get to $1 million. Why? Because we want 1 million more meals. GOONJ, $20 is the cost of one of their kits. And what are those food kits? Delivered straight to a village, can feed a family of 4 for 7 to 10 days. That is just incredible value. And if you can take that $20, add another 0 onto it, or double it, triple it, whatever you can do. I want to thank everyone who watched tonight. If you do not have the financial means to donate $5 or $50, please share this video. We want it to be seen as many places and on as many Facebook pages as possible. Thank you all for joining us tonight or for watching the playback. I'm going to throw things back over to Mansi, and I will see you guys later. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Abra. Thank you so much for coming and inspiring our community to give. It really was great to have you and all of the guests who have joined us tonight. We heard from so many different people, whether it was our partners for ChaloGive in the US, from Feeding India, from GOONJ and GiveIndia in India. It was really fantastic to hear from across the board and hear from so many people, so many of our ChaloGive ambassadors. I could go through the list again, but we really appreciate all of your support. And I think most importantly, I think the big takeaway is, if you have not yet, go to chalogive.org. It's so exciting that you could give in one donation. You could choose to give to the US, you could choose to give to India, or you could choose to give to both, as Abra was saying. And we really want to thank everyone who's joined us here tonight. It was our first ChaloGive Live, and we were so excited at the response that we got. I saw so many people who were tagging people, just a stream of Facebook messages with different tags. So many people, so much positivity. It was really an inspiring evening, and we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.